Yo, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, former Rochester University goaltender Anthony Carlier. Anthony played 4 years in ACHA Division One college hockey with Rochester College slash Rochester University. He also spent ACHA D3 with Lawrence Tech University for about 5 games. But before his college career, he played in the USPHL Premier and the Western States Hockey League for junior hockey. So, and now he's currently the one of the coaches for Rochester University. So I'm really excited to get you on, Anthony. So welcome to the show, Anthony Carlier.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are things going with you?
Things are going great. Coaching now a little bit different than playing in goal, but a little bit less stressful in terms of not having pucks coming by my ears at 6 a.m. in the morning. So we're having a good time.
Yeah, how has that transition been from playing to coaching, especially since it's at your own university, your old university, so like you're kind of familiar with the ropes.
Yeah, obviously, as you know, me and you attended some camps together.
Yeah.
And my senior year, I was really it was a tough year. We had a lot of young guys that didn't want to buy in. So I was facing 80 shots a game, kind of just living it. And I kind of was an attitude like, okay, like, screw this. Like, I'm going to be playing next year anyway. And I really had a strong feeling that I was going to be playing. And then obviously things went down. So that first like month and a half of coaching was really tough on me because I'm around the same age as these guys. I see that they're still playing. And I was in a funk a little bit. But as time went on, like, I think I love coaching way more than I ever loved playing in net. Like you could be the best player on the ice night in, night out and not get your team a win or not make a huge difference out there. But as a coach, like, you're able to teach these guys things that they wouldn't learn from somebody else, or like you're able to make a bigger difference in their lives every day than you are between the pipes, sitting in your blue paint away from everybody. So, it's actually way better and I enjoy it way more. I actually sold the goalie pads already. So, no more beer league call ups for me. So that's
Just strictly
awesome.
coaching now.
Just strictly coaching. And I always knew I was going to be one of those guys, because if we had an optional skate or something like that, I'd be demonstrating drills in my goalie pads for these guys, trying to get them to do certain things. And like, I always knew that was going to be a route I took. But I'm happy that I'm able to do it at a younger age than some of these guys are jumping into it now.
Yeah, and like you're kind of, since you're at the pretty much the same age as a lot of these guys, like you relate to them a lot more because you played like a year ago, a year 2 years ago. So like you know the grind, and you know what the game is now, and how much of a difference like that speed and the just learning the skills matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for guys that play at a college level, they're probably used to coming into college with all these older coaches. Is like, I mean, that's a step to get to if you're an older coach, is the college level. So they come in from junior having this young coach that like teaches them stuff, or like just has a different mentality, and they come into college and they're like just such a mind twist, because now you have these older coaches that think we can just implement everybody into a system. But if you look at the junior level, and you could probably attest to it, even at the pro level, it's all a development game now.
Yeah.
So like, all these older coaches are not used to developing guys, and their talent. So now they come into college and you have to teach them certain skills to be successful within your system. And some of the older coaches aren't getting it, but we actually have a good dynamic where we're at. Our coach is like 70 years old. Great guy and really hard nosed guy, but at the same time, like, he needs me to kind of tie it into a more modern thing. So it's actually a good look for us, and we're doing the right stuff, and it's actually very exciting.
Yeah, it's like what are you doing to help develop your players, especially since you do know the development way and you've you've done the path. It's like what are you doing to help develop players?
Yeah, so a lot of the stuff that we implement at our school, like, our Mondays are usually lighter days, coming off the weekend and stuff like that. We do a lot of skill skates. So whether that is just working on guys from like a lot of coaches like flow drills, and
Yeah.
that's not so much like what we're about. Like me specifically, everything's a game situation. Like flow drills are you can tell from a goalie standpoint, like you guys are getting shots from the same areas over and over again, and those guys develop habits and they get really comfortable in those certain spots. Well, our whole mindset is to put them in different situations all over the ice. So now once they reach game time, they're able to be comfortable in those spots. They can say, "Oh shit, like I did this in practice. I'm comfortable in this area. Like we're good." So like a lot of our stuff gets shots from different areas on the ice. A lot of guys at this level don't even know how to pick up a rim off the boards and be competent in that. So like a lot of stuff like that, a lot of just getting them uncomfortable. My big thing I tell guys is the best way to get comfortable is to get uncomfortable
Yeah.
first. So if you're able to get uncomfortable and able to adapt to stuff that you're not used to, like that's going to make you a better hockey player in the end. So a lot of our Mondays are skill skates and stuff like that. I also work with the goalies. At this level, you get a hodgepodge of goalies that either came from high school or came from junior, and they're all at different ways of life. But they all have those different habits too. So like some teams weren't blessed. Like I was blessed at the junior level of having a full-time goalie coach. So I want to shout out Randy Wilson from the Metro Jets, guys at Beauty. Um, but I was blessed to have him my whole time working there, and I was able to learn a ton of stuff. So um, that's what we're just trying to get guys to do is learn different things, kind of get uncomfortable, especially in the practice setting. So when the game comes, like there's no question what they're able to do or how they're able to handle themselves.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part is being or getting uncomfortable or being comfortable with being uncomfortable. Because like if you're like stagnant and just like going with the flow, that's when you create like bad habits, like you said, and you're just there and just going through the motions. But if you're getting uncomfortable, like it puts you in those different situations where you have to adapt to whatever's coming. And like if something like that happens in a game, you've done it thousands of times already in practice. Like it's not even a question of if you can do it. It's about like just being able to just do what you've been doing from the other practices that you've learned it.
Absolutely. That's kind of a big thing for us is like just having that mindset. So like to get rid of the monotonous practice. Like I know guys play like I mean it could even happen at the pro level. Like some of these coaches are very stuck in their own way. And you guys know what drills you guys are running every day of practice because they like those drills and they think they help. But our big thing for guys is like just change it up, give them a new look because the games are
Yeah.
different too. So if you can come into practice and be like, "What are we doing today?" or "What are we doing different?" Like that, just rival. It replicates a game scenario, and like let's be different. Like that's a big thing. So I will say, even though being 25, um, I coached 3 years of high school when I was playing for Rochester too. So I was an assistant at the high school level, now an assistant at the college level. Um, at 25, I'm really confident in what I teach as a coach now. That like even when I tell recruits, I'm like I'm competent and I'm confident that we're gonna teach you the right stuff. So if you have a dream of playing beyond, like we're gonna give you those tools and we're gonna help you. We're gonna help you get there.
Yeah, that's huge just with going in like recruiting and all that too. It's like what do you do to help recruit and like obviously like you're confident in everything like that helps when you're bringing recruits. Like what are you doing to recruit other players to Rochester?
So obviously we've gone to a lot of showcases. I've reached out to a lot of guys. Um, Primarily, right now, our head coach took over during COVID. So my freshman year of college, we had a head coach who was just an unbelievable guy. Like anything you could name in terms of setting stuff up or just managing a program, he did a great job at. But as a hockey coach, he wasn't really a hockey guy.
Yeah.
So getting those recruits is really tough. Um, so then the head coach now took over during COVID. Recruiting kind of got stagnant a little bit because no one knew what was going on.
Yeah.
So there was one year we were playing with 7 guys. So imagine 3D and four forwards. Like it was insane. So like 80, 90 shots a night. Um,
So that makes it better that you're facing 80 shots and you only had seven players.
yeah, it was tough, but like just having people in the program that have dealt with that adversity, like
Yeah.
helps us recruit too, because now we know that we have people in the program that care and want to get better. But like our big thing about recruiting is like these kids, although like they may come on the ice and you might say, "Oh my God, what are they learning?" Or what, like are they dumb? Like I hate to use that, but like are they why are they doing these things? In the recruiting process, they're not dumb. Like they know when someone's spewing them a load of BS and
Yeah.
when they're not. Like they're smart in terms of that. So the big thing is just being transparent with these guys, telling them where we're at. Like obviously we haven't had a good record in some time now. But that's not indicative of the type of team. So like you have to be really transparent with these guys and what you have to offer, what you're planning on building, and they respect that a lot. And the big thing I tell them is, although this program's been around for the amount of years it has been, like you're coming in here and you're building a culture, and that's a big thing. Like come in here, build a culture, and after your 4 years, you're going to be able to look back and say, oh my God, I was able to help build that, or I was able to
Yeah.
help do that. And for a lot of guys that may get recruited by the bigger schools, so Adrian, the Ohios, the Liberties, that culture's already instilled there. Whereas here, you're able to come in and you're able to build something special from day one. And I think that's a big thing for guys because they want to see that their hard work is paid off and help build something for the better.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing for us, like just preaching that, like, let's get better, let's build a culture. And while you're at it, like, let's get better at hockey.
Yeah. And if you have a good culture and like you instill that in everyone, like that's when you have a successful year. Like it may not look good, like the record may not be the best, but like if the culture in the room and everything is good, and like that's a success in the season, and it'll show like throughout the season if like you have a good culture or not.
Absolutely. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Like obviously our record this year is a little bit not where we had planned. Um, and it's just we have a lot of young guys that are coming into
Yeah.
this league and they think that because they played in some junior division where they put up 60, 70 points, that they're going to come do the same thing at this level. Well, night in, night out, you're playing against 25-year-olds, 24-year-olds as a 21-year-old, and that may not seem like a big difference, but like those extra 3, 4 years, like, and you can see it too at your
Yeah.
level, at the pro level. Like they may not be the skill level of some of the guys coming in, but they're so much smarter. So especially as a goalie, I thought I was going to come into the ACHA and take it by storm. And my first year, I was like, wow, like these guys all can rip pucks. You're not in a junior game where you have the fourth line coming down, flipping a flutter at you. Like all these guys can rip pucks. They're all smart. So by my senior year, I was able to do a lot of what I did. Um, I think my senior year, I ended with like 1,500 saves. So like as you can tell, like that's a lot of shots in like 25
Yeah.
games. Um, but like I was able to do it because I got smarter. And like that's what guys don't realize is like you just have to at some point your skill level is going to cap off. Like that's just the way it is. Like you're not going to get better at some point, but the way to get better is to get smarter. So if you can really keep that in mind and not get frustrated with yourself and start learning like different tendencies, how to make better plays and what you're capable of, I think that's a big deal at this level, especially guys that want to adapt and play at the pro level too.
Yeah. So like going into your career in the ACHA with Rochester, like what like you played there 4 years. And like you said, you had 25 games. You got smarter that senior year. Is like going through like from your freshman year to your senior year. What was like the development process for you from year one all the way to year four?
I think it's kind of like part of it's like an attitude thing. So tell a lot of guys like in order to get smarter, like you have to respect the other guys too. around
Yeah.
the league. So some of these freshmen come in and will say F you to the older guys, or like have beef with a guy on another team for no reason whatsoever, which I find crazy. But I was in that same boat. I thought I was going to come in here and dominate, and um, I did very well all 4 years. Like I know I was sub 900 save percentage, but like facing the shots that I did, like I having like a .88, a .89, like I was really happy with that considering the team I had in front of me and the shots I was facing. But part of that is just like the attitude thing. So like I was one that got really hard on myself. I always blamed everything on me. Um, and I think if you can be accountable for what you're doing, or like I always thought if I let up a goal, even if it wasn't my fault, like how am I gonna get better? How am I going to stop that from going in? Because obviously you're not gonna change your D, you're not gonna change your forwards. So like those breakdowns are gonna happen. So how can I adapt in order to stop those or get better? And that's where I got smarter. So that was a big thing. Like it comes down to like even watching NHL highlights, I would watch those and I would say, okay, like UC Saros just let in the same goal that I let up like a couple nights ago. Like what did he do in that situation and what can I do different? Like so I think just being able to watch a ton of hockey and learn from that too, like that was big for me. Um, and I definitely did get better over the course. Like I think the biggest thing I got better with was shot patience. Like when I was younger, I used to slide around on everything. And when I did play for Metro, that was a big thing. Randy emphasized with me. You'd hear him halfway across the rink yelling, "Carly, stay on your feet." Um, but sometimes like, and it's the same thing I tell other guys. Like a coach can tell you something 100 times in a row, and it's not going to click till it clicks for you.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I was in certain game situations where I did what they asked, where I was like, okay, like now I'm good. Like I know what he means now, and like that was a big thing. So shot patience, like especially with defensive breakdowns, they're gonna move the puck around the zone 3-4 times before they even take a shot. How am I gonna set myself up in a situation where I can't only make one save, but I can make 3, 4, 5 in a row? So
Yeah.
that was my biggest thing, is just getting smarter and kind of taking accountability for myself, and it led to a lot of success for me down the road.
Yeah, that's huge that you learned that, and like especially with shot patience and like you're not like staying on your feet. Like I think staying on your feet is super important. Like there's situations where you still like slide and when you probably shouldn't, but like you still make the save or whatever. But like being on your feet, like it helps like you control the game more and control the game better and like slow everything down compared to if you're just sliding around like everything's going like 1,000 miles an hour, it feels like. But if you're just calm and confident in what you're doing, like you're gonna stop that puck.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys at this level, like we've played certain teams, they'd fire the puck from everywhere. So if you're able to make 20 saves in the first period, the way that my team was built at that point, like teams start getting frustrated. So now you're forcing them to make passes they generally wouldn't make,
Yeah,
and now you're not even getting a shot because they fumble. They fumble the puck, and you're like, okay, like I did that because I was in position the whole first period, and now they're stressing how they're gonna get goals on you. So that was a big thing for me, is just staying calm, collective, and just being accountable for what I could control.
yeah. I think being accountable is another good point because there's a lot like I see a lot of people in like juniors or even at like the lower levels where it's like they put their arms up immediately and like blame the defense and stuff. But like it, I mean, usually sometimes there's like great shots where like you're gonna get scored on, but like there's always something that you did wrong at some point that could cause you to not make that save. So you just got to be
Yeah,
accountable for that.
that's a big thing I brought into coaching too. So like obviously from being a goalie, something happens in front of you, your D come up to you and they say, "I'm sorry." I was never one as a goalie that liked hearing, "I'm sorry." Like, okay, we know
Yeah,
whose fault it was. We know if it's my fault. We know if it's your fault. Like, don't say sorry. Let's be better. And that's
yeah,
something I've adapted into coaching too. And I've learned it from the coaches at the Jets too. Like I've I'm in good communication with them. They allow me to be there Tuesday and Thursdays too, to kind of get a different look at a different level of hockey and be a part of their development system. And they say the same thing. Like, if you make a mistake, like, we know that you made a mistake. Like, let's be better. Let's get out there next shift and let's make up for that. Like, so that's a big thing that I've adapted into my coaching, is kind of, if a guy makes a mistake, if a goalie makes a mistake, they know, so they don't
Yeah.
need to be hard on. Like, put them back out there the next shift and short shift them and get them back out there, and let's let them make up for their mistake, because they're all 21 to 25 and they know exactly what they did wrong. So,
Yeah.
so that's kind of what I've adapted and kind of preached into coaching. So it helps a lot.
Yeah, and just being at the higher levels, like you said, everyone knows what they did wrong. If something happened, they know what they did wrong. Like, they're at the level where you don't need to be told, "Oh, you did this wrong." You should know.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you also played with Lawrence Tech University for 5 games in ACHA D3. So like, what was that like, and just getting your feet set, getting your feet wet in college?
So I went there right out of high school. And I was at a point in time where I played youth hockey in Michigan, and I wasn't really sure. I kind of lost that love for hockey at that point, because coming up through youth, I was always one that I feel like I could have made a AAA team, but at the same time, like, there's no way that my family or my parents could have made that commitment financially.
Yeah,
So I stayed playing just regular AA hockey, and so I kind of lost that love for the game, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do. And I actually had 2 offers coming out of youth hockey, so I could have either went to Lawrence Tech and played hockey, or I actually could have went to Rochester at the time to play golf. And I ended up choosing Lawrence Tech. And over the summer going into there, I really was against it. Like, I started seeing like my buddies playing junior hockey and like getting ready to gear up for their season. And I tried to convince my parents, like, okay, let me just back out of this. Let me go play junior and let's see what happens. But they were real big on, like, if you make a commitment to something, like, you have to follow through with it.
yeah,
So I went there for a semester and I played ACHA D3. And no knock on ACHA D3 for the guys that do compete and play in it, because I think it's awesome. I would view it as like a continuation of high school hockey for majority of the teams. Obviously, you have some of your teams that are really solid that get certain guys that I don't know how they're doing it, but they're really solid programs. So when I went to Lawrence Tech, it was really tough for me at first because I knew I was capable of a lot more. And my experience there, I wasn't a big fan of it. Like, if I'm being honest, and I even tell recruits this because they're in the same division as us.
yeah,
So if a recruit's thinking about going there, I tell them the same thing if they ask me about it. I didn't enjoy my time there. The school's awesome. If you're going to be an engineer or anything, that school's great. But I was one that I just didn't mesh well there. But I also have 40 guys that I played with that had the best experience ever there. So me being there and not enjoying it, I actually talked to my dad like right before the semester break. And I told him, I was like, listen, I'm not enjoying this. I think I'm capable of a lot more. And the game plan was actually to go play junior that second half of the year and probably the year after. And I was hoping to get an NCAA D3 commitment out of that. And that's kind of just what I wanted to do. And it had nothing to do with them. I just felt like the more years I can play hockey, the better, because I found my love for the game again. But I will say thank you to Lawrence Tech, because I did find my love for the game again to be able to go leave and play junior. And that's kind of where I ended up. My buddy was out in Colorado. Their goalie had a hip injury, so he wasn't able to roster anymore, and they brought me out there. And just that year, like the Western States has a bad rap in terms of a junior league because it was kind of that outlaw league. But I had a great experience. The import rules out there were crazy. Like, you could play against 2 lines of Russian imports a night. Like, it was Like you barely, like, it didn't feel like junior hockey. Like, it felt like a
Yeah.
step up, and I was like, this is crazy. Um, but then when I was there, I ended up getting traded to Seattle and spent the rest of the year there, and I played terrible in Seattle. Part of it was I was trying to get used to being away from home. Like, as an 18-year-old, being 36 hours away from home was such a big adjustment for me. But my billets and all that stuff, my billets were awesome. The guys that I got to play with were awesome, and I still have relationships with those kids. And I think I grew up a ton and was able to kind of like come into my own as a person playing out there, and like that was big for me. And then I ended up being able to come home and play for the Metro Jets my last year, and I ended up the head coach there, Justin Glenville, like he gave me a list of NCAA D3 schools that I was able to go to that he thought I would be capable of playing for. And he obviously told me, like, these are the ones that you're probably not going to sniff any time, or they're not going to recruit you because that level's sticky. Sometimes you're getting NA guys
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But I went there, and then Rochester came knocking at the door with a good scholarship for me that I wasn't going to match anywhere else. And ended up going there, and I'm thankful for going there because I ended up getting to play college golf too while I was there. So I got that experience. If I didn't go there, I would have never met my fiance. So it was a big step for me, and I'm happy I went there because not only did I grow as a player, I grew as a person as well. And like, obviously sometimes I wonder, like, if I would have went to a different school, would people have looked at me different going into some of these camps that I went to? But it worked out for the better. I still have a
Yeah.
gripe with one of my professors there. I got offered a spot in Elmira after my senior season, and I had to take a senior class, and she wouldn't let me go. So so I was a little upset. I feel like if I would have got my feet wet at that level a little bit earlier, the camps would have went a little bit better because
Yeah.
obviously your name's out there. But I wouldn't change anything that I've done over the course of that time for anything, because like, even I was able to go to some of these camps, and I was able to meet you. I was able to meet Anthony, who still keeps in contact. So I'm very happy with the people I was able to meet and the path that I've taken, because it's only made me a better person.
Yeah, that's huge, and like it's just about growth at like every level. You're just growing every single year, every single day at practice. You're just growing, and like you did that throughout juniors, throughout college, and then you also had some pro camps that you went to. So like, what were those camps like for you? Like I met you at the Binghamton one with our group of goalies. Say we had like 6, 7 guys in the locker room, all goalies. So that was a fun time, and all beauties.
Yeah, like I would say those camps let me see what that level was all about. Um, Especially the first one I went to in Elmira. Um, that one was a little interesting. I remember getting to the first hotel, and I brought my fiance with me, and we looked at the room, and we were like, "You were not staying here." So immediately went to the front desk, checked out, got a new hotel, and then while I was in the hotel, I looked at the sheet for the camp, and I was labeled as a forward. So that camp started out real hot. I actually thought I did really well there, but what I told a lot of guys, like, they obviously saw I was upset after I got cut that first day,
Yeah,
and I told them, I said 60 goalies on the ice, cutting it down to 8 or 10 guys. Like, a big part of that, of getting there, like, is being seen at the right time, and like, a lot of it's luck. Like, to be one of the 8 getting cut down from 60, you have to be at the right place, the right time.
yeah,
And like, that's really all hockey is, like, is being in the right place at the right time. And if you're not, like, it's unfortunate, but but that's how that camp went. And then I went to Binghamton, and I honestly really thought I had a chance there, especially with the dynamic that camp was, like, 3-on-3 full ice. Like, goalies are a little bit at a disadvantage
Yeah.
So I thought I carried myself well, and I thought I gave myself a chance. And like I said, just right place, right time. And after that camp and not making it, I went through a little bit of a funk. Like I was really down on myself because I really loved playing, and
Yeah.
um, it was tough. But at the same time, like I tell guys, like if you're looking at North American pro hockey, maybe 150 goalie spots, and there's hundreds of thousands of goalies looking for those spots. So yeah, that's cool if you can make it, but like even the lowest of pro levels in North America, like the odds of you making it are stacked against you. So um, just being able to participate in that stuff and being a part of it and meeting the people that I did, honestly, at the end of the day, was the biggest for me, because especially going into coaching now and hoping to move on to a head coaching role at some level, it's all about connections. So if I could have gotten anything out of that camp, is to meet the people I did and make the connections I did, and hopefully, even though it didn't work for me as a player, it will work for me as a coach, and I'll be able to find the right opportunity for me to do that.
Yeah, that's huge. And now you have the connections and everything, and like that, just that camp alone was a lot of fun. Like the 3-on-3 full ice, like you got to like it's just big save after big save, odd man rush after odd man rush, and like then like our locker room dynamic with all the goalies, like
Yeah.
we still have that group chat that like we talk on there occasionally, and so like we all of us are still chatting it up whenever we can.
Like it's surprising to me that guys that I met for one weekend um, could go down as like friends for a lifetime type
Yeah.
thing. So I think that's really cool to me, and how tight knit the hockey community actually is. Um, and I know you guys like joked with me about it at the Elmira camp and at the Binghamton camp. Like I was always one like take care of your business, and I didn't give a lot of other goalies credit because I was so dialed into me wanting to do what I did. But I think the dynamic of that Binghamton camp was huge. Like although we were all competing for a spot, like we could always be respectful of one another. And I met some really cool people, and that will go down as a story I tell till the
Yeah.
end of time. So
Yeah, that was a legendary time and just a lot of fun, a lot of memories, and literally those 2 3 days, whatever it was. It was a good time and lifelong friends forever.
absolutely.
Yeah, but before we wrap things up here, do you have any tips for like goalies looking to get to that next level, whether it be high school to junior college, college to looking to make that jump to pro?
Yeah, like I think the biggest thing is, like I said earlier, like get smarter. Like you're obviously always going to be able to work on your skill set and get better, but the biggest thing I see with goalies is they're not dialed into the IQ part of the game. So whether that be at the junior level, like take part in player meetings with the forwards, with the D, like get to know what systems you're running and how you can be part of those systems. So big thing, like we talk about it, like if a goalie can be a third man on a breakout or a third defenseman, like because he knows the situation and he knows where everyone's going to be, like do that. Like if you can pick up on certain things, like where guys are going to shoot pucks because the lane's flooded or stuff like that, like get smarter. And if you're able to develop and get smarter as a goalie, like you have a really good chance, because that's
Yeah.
half the battle. We're supposed to be the smartest people on the ice, whether anyone says they're not, because we're a little bit crazy. But be the smartest people on the ice and learn, and like that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a great piece of advice, and like just you as you develop, as you get older, like it all comes down to being smarter, having that hockey IQ, reading the plays, just stuff like that. And like once you like go in every day with a mindset of I'm gonna get better at this, that, and the other, like that's when you see success and start to see you develop even further than you were before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but this is a great time, great episode, great chatting with you, Anthony. So I want to thank you for coming on the show, and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I want to shout out the Binghamton Camp boys.
Oh
And
yeah.
I know he follows you on Instagram. So Aaron Shaheen, I am the better diabetic. So thank you very much.
Unreal.